Welcome to the Octagon channel. Today we're going to bring you news from the world of MMA, boxing, and WWE. And here we go. Dana White has reiterated his stance on free speech following Bryce Mitchell's controversial podcast comments, in which the UFC featherweight praised Adolf Hitler and denied the Holocaust. While the UFC CEO strongly condemned Mitchell's statements as beyond disgusting, he defended the fighter's right to express them, sharing his belief in protecting free speech, even when he strongly disagrees with what Mitchell said. Speaking to Piers Morgan, White made it clear that while he finds Mitchell's views abhorrent, he stands by the principle of free speech. What he said was disgusting, White stated. You have to be an absolute moron to think that Adolf Hitler was a good guy. You look at World War II and how many people were killed, how many civilians were killed because of Adolf Hitler. The fact that he tried to annihilate an entire group of people is disgusting for anybody to speak remotely good about Hitler. But I do believe in free speech, and even though I don't like what he said, and even though what he said makes me sick, free speech is real. It lives and exists, and we have to protect free speech. White emphasized that free speech is a core principle within the UFC, which manages a roster of hundreds of fighters. According to him, free speech cannot be applied selectively. I think probably the most important free speech to protect is hate speech, White said. Because when a government or a certain person can come out and determine this is hate speech, it's a very slippery slope, and it's dangerous in my opinion. Listen, I'm American. I was born and grew up in America. I believe in the American dream. I believe in free speech. I believe in all these things. You can't just say it and not live it. White's stance on free speech has come under fire due to past instances of media members being denied credentials to cover events due to their coverage of the promotion. The UFC CEO made it clear that UFC fighters are not subject to termination, fines, or other forms of punishment based solely on their speech, no matter how offensive it may be. You've got guys that pop up like Bryce Mitchell that say ignorant, stupid things, and I will exercise my right to free speech and say I don't agree with what he said, White said. But he can say what he wants to say. We don't have to agree with it or believe in what he says, but he has the right to say it. It's the disgusting, despicable things like what he said that truly define what free speech is. Former fighter turned analyst Chael Sonnen thinks the UFC has a big decision to make regarding lightweight kingpin Islam Makhachev's future. Makhachev started his year on the right foot last month, becoming the first champion at 155 pounds to record 4 consecutive defenses. The Dagestani did so at the expense of late-notice replacement opponent Renato Moicano, whom he submitted in the first round at UFC 311. Moving forward, the 33-year-old has expressed his desire to achieve 2-division glory, and it would appear that the time frame on that coming to fruition could be short, with Makhachev's coach suggesting late last year that the Russian could look to depart the sport on top soon enough. In the eyes of Sonnen, such an event would only be brought about if the UFC forces the champ to remain at 155 pounds, a factor he also saw as the leading cause of Khabib Nurmagomedov's retirement as title holder back in 2020. Khabib did not retire because he didn't want to fight Conor McGregor a second time. The UFC showed him the wrong numbers, Sonnen said in an interview with MMA Junkie. Every time they had a meeting, they showed more commas and more zeros, but it was the wrong number. If they had made the weight class 170 pounds, they would have caught Khabib for one more fight. The number one reason any combat athlete retires is that they don't want to make that weight anymore. Sooner or later, it bites everybody in the ass, Sonnen continued. Islam can either retire like Khabib did. Khabib didn't want to tell anybody he didn't want to make the weight, and no combat athlete will ever admit that. So they can either eventually part ways with Islam and watch him retire and talk about what could have been, or they can move him out of the goddamn weight class. That's the truth. One potential stumbling block in the way of a welterweight move for Makhachev is the presence of friend and occasional training partner Belal Muhammad on the throne. Because of that, the Dagestani has even pondered a 2-division move up to middleweight to challenge Dricus du Plessis. It remains to be seen what lies in the future of Makhachev, but in Sonnen's eyes, a continued stay at lightweight will soon signal the end of the champ's career. Elia Topuria doesn't just want to fight with Islam Makhachev. He believes that matchup will prove definitively that he's the one pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Currently number 3 on MMA Fighting's P4P list, the reigning featherweight champion has his eyes on the top spot, and that puts him directly at odds with Makhachev, the UFC's lightweight champion. Topuria has frequently mentioned wanting to set up a super fight between the two for Makhachev's title, and he reiterated that request in an interview with Fox Sports Australia. Me personally, what I want to do is move up to 155 because I know that I can become a two-weight world champion, Makhachev said. Islam, he's a great fighter. He's the number one pound for pound for the people. For me, it's me, myself. I'm the best fighter in the world, so I know that I can do with him whatever I want to do, because I know that I am much better than him. Topuria has made a strong case to be considered the best fighter in the world, regardless of weight class. He topped several Fighter of the Year lists at the end of 2024, with highlight reel knockouts of Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway, two of the best ever to compete at 145 pounds. In 16 pro bouts and 8 UFC appearances, Topuria is yet to experience defeat. Holloway was Topuria's first title defense, and he's open to sticking around in his division, but he's hoping the matchmakers give him the opportunity to chase a second belt sooner rather than later. This is something that I want to do, Topuria said. The UFC knows that. But at the end of the day, this is something that the UFC decides because they know how to run the business. They know how to do it. They have a lot of experience. So if they tell me that they want me to keep defending the belt in the 145 division, maybe I will do that. But if they let me go up to 155, I will do that also. Should Topuria stay at 145 pounds, he has no shortage of potential challengers. A rumored rematch with Volkanovski looms, as do fresh challengers Diego Lopes and Movsar Evloev. El Matador knows who he'd like to face next, if not Makhachev nor Volkanovski. I think Diego deserves it more because Movsar has more fights in the UFC, but he has 8 fights, 8 decisions, 1 by split decision. You need to finish someone, Topuria said. Do something relevant, put yourself in that spot, and why not? We can do it. But if you don't finish anyone, I fight for the fans. I fight to entertain the fans, and I need someone inside the cage to be entertained. I don't need someone who is only looking for the win and grab you and this and that, which he wouldn't be able to do that with me. I would knock him out in the first round, but I need someone to hype up the fight. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.